Good evening, friends. Thank you for being here, everybody. This is Achieving Wellness, and this is Minnassa. This is Minnassa's first visit to dzncats, and I'm thrilled to have her here. So thank you, my friend, for being here. Thank you for
I am happy to be here. Let's talk about wellness.
Yes, let's. As I said to you backstage, you look lovely. And she said to me, well, I had to get dressed up for your show. So thank you. That's
Of
very
course.
So, Minnassa, as I always do when I have a first time new guest on the channel, I ask a few kind of silly little questions. They're not really silly, just a different way of asking a question so you don't feel like we're trying to get too close and personal, but we're kind of going to go there.
All right.
If you don't mind. So, the first question is, and the reason why I do this is just to allow people to roll in and, get themselves comfy before the conversation starts. So the first question I want to ask you is this. What does the day off for Minnassa look like?
The day off for Minnassa, under my wife's supervision or under my own supervision?
Whichever.
Under my wife's supervision is a day where I am relaxing. Under me, it's a day where I'm trying to do 80 things. But a day off for me is I'm a straight nerd, so I'm going to stay in the house.
Nice.
And I love books. So I have books on my Kindle and I have actual books and just relaxing. Now I also love to watch Murdoch Mysteries.
I love that show. That's a Canadian show.
I know, and we love it. So we'll let a couple episodes go by and stream it. So a day off for me is doing nerdy things that I love, which is still in my pajamas and reading and watching all my friends on YouTube and just enjoying.
Love it. All right. Here's the next question. 3 things that you have to have with you at all times. Like you can't leave the house without them.
I say my skin, no. My heart and lungs. Well, probably my iPad.
Okay.
Because that's how I communicate and that's how I do my creative work. I always wear a camisole or a t-shirt of some sort.
Okay.
Underneath. I am the daughter of Donna Johnson, and that's how I was raised.
Okay.
And I have to have some gum. If I don't have gum.
Oh, friend, preach it. I'm all about the gum. Well, I tell everybody this. So I started chewing gum because I have anxiety panic disorder, and it slows the mind down. It keeps my mouth moist. And when I used to go into a panic attack, I got very dry and my throat would close up. And so it was a way for me to keep my mouth moist if I got nervous. And so I did not know, but it actually improves your concentration. So there's a tip. Everyone's going to be chewing gum. So, next question. Last thing that you binged watch, which I think you kind of told us that Murdoch Mysteries, but
yes, I love Murdoch Mysteries. So I'm going to binge. The next thing I'm going to try to watch, once I get in the chair in my room, it's like, if there's a fire, I'm leaving. If the fire is to the door, right? If it's on the other side of the house, okay, I pray for my daughter to deal with it, right? But there's a show on Netflix, it's called The Family, I think.
Okay.
And it talks about a powerful family here in the United States, and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes.
Cool.
But yes,
I've been watching Perry Mason on YouTube. I love me some Perry Mason, so I totally get the Murdoch Mystery thing.
Oh, and what I love about it is that I love history. Yeah. So I love it when they include historical people, like they have Tesla on there, and they have like Mary Pickford, and then it's like CSI for the 1900s. So it's just a good concept. I love the characters. That's one of I love mystery books, so of course, and I love books that have characters where I can get to know them, and so that Murdoch is like all of that.
I love that. All right, here's our last question. I haven't asked this one in a while. If you could There's a movie of your life. Who's playing you?
Oh, of course. Well, that's hard. I was going to say Beyonce, but probably Angela Bassett.
Nice. She's beautiful.
I also love Queen Latifah, but
I
so
I'm like a little bit of a fangirl when it comes to Queen Latifah. Like,
yeah,
I love her.
yeah, she's my girl crush.
I'm totally down with that. So, thank you for answering those questions. I appreciate that.
I thought
Welcome
you were
to
going to ask me
everybody.
boxers or briefs. That's usually the
Oh no.
question they ask. So I'm like,
Oh,
no, I like guys that wear boxers. Say, but you're
Ellen,
married. I'm like, I'm just
Ellen,
saying.
Ellen's burning questions. Thank you everyone for being here. Michelle, my bell's in the house. Scott is here. Anna Banana's here. Nancy Riker's in the house. Sherry H is here. Vivian is here. Thank you everyone for popping in and visiting with us.
Yanni, hey.
We are talking today about blame and shame. And of course, you know that I've got my notes. Let me pop them up on my screen here so I can follow along so I don't get lost. Now, I'm not going to go, verbatim through my notes, but I am going to try to follow along, and I'm going to slide them over here so I can see what's going on in the chat. So, I want to start by saying this. For me, personally, this has been something that I've wanted to do for a long time, this topic, but I didn't think that I was ready. That's the first thing I want to own that. It makes me equally angry and equally upset at the same time. And that's why I didn't think I was ready, because I don't want to come here and show that side. I want to come from a positive place, and I didn't know that I could do that. So it hits me very close to home because I have a mental health disorder, and I have experienced both the blame, the shame, and I have done both of those things to myself as a result of having that negativity sort of thrown at me. However, that being said, you don't have to have a mental health diagnosis or mental health disorder to experience blame or shame, obviously. And I'm sure that if we think about it, there are too many painful times that we have all experienced blame and or shame, right? So the goal today is to have a nice discussion about it and to share some information and some tips with each other to support each other as we always try to do here. And hopefully by the end of the segment, we walk away feeling a little better about the whole concept of blame and shame. Most importantly, I want us to walk away not doing it to ourselves. Because if we stop it inside of ourselves, chances are it will not filter outward, right?
Correct.
All right, my friend, here we go. So, what is shame and blame? Now, of course, I go to the internet, I check multiple sources, and this is what I came up with. So, shame comes from our own thoughts. It can be triggered when we're blamed by other people for doing or not doing something. When we've referred to shaming, okay, I love you too. Okay, bye, honey. Sorry, friends. Where was I? When we refer to shaming someone else, we're talking about or saying or doing something that brings up feelings within ourselves, inadequacies. It makes us feel powerlessness makes us feel powerless and or embarrassed. And I thought that was really interesting because I have to be honest, I never really thought about that. What are your thoughts, Minnassa?
I think that is, I also went to the internet and got some information about that. And that, yes, so shame, like one of the things is I don't want, I was talking to someone say, shame on you. I go, no, I don't receive that. I'm not going to be shamed because of whatever, especially if I just said it out loud. But yes,
Right.
the shame is about, be, you're worried about the judgments of other people,
Right.
or you're judging yourself. And that that's where it begins. But I was thinking what had got me, I saw a meme and I wish I had could, I'm a boomer, so sometimes I can't get that info.
Um,
But it said for a woman, shame is her, like it said, if a woman decides not to get married, shame on you.
yes.
And then if you do get married, shame on you. You could have done so much more with your life. If a
Yeah.
woman decides not to have children, shame on you. You're being selfish. And if a
Yeah.
woman has more than a couple kids, shame on you. How that, also that shame is, again, that this is outside people judging.
Yes.
And then us judging ourselves. Like this can be a very challenging story, but I want to share it. A woman at my church years ago came and talked about how she was at a family party. She was a little girl. And this man she had known all her life, the 4 or 5 years that she had been alive, but he was obviously safe, said, hey, come to the garage and help me with something. Well, he got her out there and he raped her during this big event, threatened her, of course, and then went back to the event like nothing had happened. So for years, she shamed herself because why? Because she was skipping and dancing and happily went with him.
Yeah.
Right. Where she had to realize she had no reason to be afraid. He had been in her safe space all her life.
Right. Right.
But she had carried that shame somehow because she blamed herself. Or, she should have been smarter. Or she should have known.
Right.
Okay, when you're
Didn't
4 or 5,
address
you
that
don't know
way.
that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
that shame is based on the feeling that we should have done something different, or but like you said, powerless.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Totally powerless. And that's and when you're coming at it from the other angle, I think, like, if you're not talking about blame and shame, where like your personal experience, and you're looking at it from someone else's experience, it seems so obvious why that person may be feeling that, right? When it's happening to you, you don't realize that really what it's doing is rendering you powerless, right? So,
And I do also want to say, I think there are some times that accepting the blame, right? So not
yes.
having it laid on you, but accepting the blame can be beneficial. Because I really wanted to think about, can it be in a beneficial place? And this is about owning it. So years ago, a million years ago, when I was in junior high school, back in the Stone Age,
Yeah.
our math teacher gave this test that the girl who got A's on every test, not me,
Right.
got a C.
Mm-hmm.
A C. So you can imagine the grade the rest of us got.
Yeah.
An F. Well, he said this, he didn't say it in these cool words, but this is on me. But he did say, I accept the blame for these grades because I obviously didn't make it clear. And he threw the grades out and he redid the chapter.
Wow.
So sort of the blame of, I obviously didn't communicate this well. Or like, I was at a meeting today, my boss is like, oh, do you have the minutes for that? So I'm like, yeah. Then she goes, I said, are you trying to read it? So she asked me later, well, how come you didn't type up the minutes? So I explained to her that when I very first got there, but I said, my bad.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is versus saying, or even like my teacher could have been like, you guys didn't study enough, or you don't know what you're doing, or Ellen, you're not as smart as everyone thinks you are, right? Because she ended up being our valedictorian. Or I could have said, you didn't make it clear to me about that.
Exactly.
Accept what's yours.
Yeah.
But
it's almost like that count to 10 kind of rule is what is it, I want to say. It's the to me, it's, when you're in that situation where your boss is saying that to you, it's your count to 10 moment, right? the difference between being proactive and reactive, right? Where you allow
very good, very
to
good.
come into you and let it kind of like, flow through you and come back out going, yes, okay, you know what? Maybe I should have read those instructions better, or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah, yes, yes.
We have some really awesome comments here. So Joan says that I feel shame that I don't have my life in order and that I don't have a better job. Anna Banana says internalizing external commentary upon ourselves sucks, leaves us feeling powerless. Joan says, and I realize now it's because I worry about people judging me. It's so connected.
That's true. And I really think for Joan's concept, even on a banana, that whole concept, but Joan says, whose definition of a better job, right? Again, who has defined these things?
Right. Because someone has set a standard for you that you are now trying to like literally leap over that and you're never going to get there.
Correct.
Because speaking of leaping, did you all see that?
I know, I saw your kitty cat.
When you set those like false expectations for yourself, you are literally setting yourself up for failure. Because,
I think
you're never going to get there. You know what I mean? You're never.
And I think many of them are on like the outside. Like there was a time, my mom's generation, there would be shame in wearing your natural hair.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, for African-American women, I cannot tell you how the damage done to my scalp. One time we got the wrong permanent relaxer, right? You just grab the thing and there's like regular and super.
Yeah.
Well, I had to wear like Neosporin. My scalp actually got burned, right? But because it was so important to meet this societal thing. So shame, it's like, for what?
Yeah.
Right? You can wear your hair the way that God gave it to you. You're not feeling shamed about that. But somehow, so again, this society, so when you take that on, that's where the powerlessness happens.
Well, and that's a really, really, first of all, that's disgusting that anyone has to deal with that.
Girl, they have to pass laws in this country so that you won't be fired or written up for wearing your natural hair.
Exactly.
For people with hair like mine.
I can't believe that is the way that it is.
Girl, it's the U.S.
I'm not saying that I don't believe it. I'm like dumbfounded by it.
Just to our backstage conversation, that's how the U.S. is.
Yeah.
Smiling with one hand and stabbing with the other.
Yeah. Deb H says, if you measure yourself against someone else's expectations, you can never get the outcome that you want. And that's what I meant by the false expectations. So
right. Very true.
Here is what I want to say, right? There are two concepts in my mind. And I don't know if y'all agree with me or not, but in my mind, there's like two, not really concepts, but two sort of like, I'm going to call them concepts, two concepts of blame and shame, right? One is our own personal blame and shame game that we do with ourselves. And the other one is from the outside world, right? Whether it be your environment, your parents, your society, whatever, right? Maybe it's your culture or your race or your religion or where you live or who knows what. And the reason why I said two is because I believe that if you can deal with the internal blame and shame within you, put that shield up, and I'm not like, I don't accept that, like how you said earlier, right? I just don't, I'm sorry, right? No different than we tell that negative voice in our head, no, thank you, I'm not listening to that. There is no place for that today. Sorry, right? If we can build up our defenses and our boundaries to protect ourselves so that we do not internalize the shame of someone else's expectations of put upon us, if we can build up our critical thinking, I'm using all bad keywords, God forbid, So that we understand that when something occurs that we don't like the result of, that we can process it and not come out in a negative way, but come out learning from it, right?
I think part of what you're talking about, if I'm hearing you, is about there has to be a certain amount of self-awareness. And
Yes.
that's, I saw a comedian say that why are men and women different, right? Not because, it's because when a boy gets a toy, it's G.I. Joe or it's a knife
Yeah.
or it's a gun. And what are the toys that are given to a girl? Here's your doll. From
Yeah.
as soon as you can learn your responsibility that you are supposed to be focusing outside of yourself and
Yes.
taking care of things outside of you.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the things I would say, what you're talking about, critical awareness, or I said self-awareness, is that you
Yeah.
have to unlearn the false stuff,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
part of what some of those voices in your mind, they don't even sound mean. They sound like, well, this is the proper thing to do,
Yeah.
right? You don't want to be a rule breaker
Right.
or a criminal, right?
Yeah.
That this is proper.
Yeah.
And so you have to unlearn
Exactly.
those, you have to be self-awareness and then say, where are those voices coming from? To, I would say that to me, this is a great conversation, but it is years to do. I started my journey
Oh,
in
100%.
2006. So here I am 16 years later,
Yeah. Yeah.
still at, it's concept.
It
And I think
is.
maybe also the word, it's a process.
It is a process. I mean, it's an ever evolving, ever growing, constantly, uh, you know, uh, there are times when you feel, two steps forward, three backwards. It is really, really difficult because a, you are not aware that this is who you are until something occurs that, smacks you inside the forehead and goes, wow, you got all kinds of issues that you need to work on. And then you go through, oh, like I hurt everywhere. I didn't know that I was like this little, curled up in a ball kind of like thing. And I'm just, I'm like a little snail and I'm just tugging along. And, it's very difficult. It is not an easy process. But for anyone who has released anything, I don't care what it is, I don't care how big it is, if you've released this much ever in your life, we all know that when that happens, you feel a sense of what? You feel a sense
Relief.
of relief and you feel some more joy coming towards you, some more peace brought back to your heart. And that's when you understand what this whole thing is about, this working on ourselves. That's when it becomes easy to accept, easy to digest, and easy to navigate. Easier to navigate is probably what I want to say. So when I was talking about the blame and shame thing, one of the things, and this is a personal thing for me, right? So starting this channel. Why did I start this channel? Nobody really knows. I don't really even know, to be honest. I went on to Allie's show and I said what I said. I told my story. And everyone in the chat was like, we need to hear from you and you have this and everybody and oh yes. And I was like, oh my God, okay, sure. I'm going to start a channel like right in the middle of the show. I mean, that's how much thinking I had done about it. I never picked up an oracle card before I started my channel. I only learned tarot in the end of December. And I say that because like I'm not a master tarot reader by any stretch of the imagination, but I try really, really hard. But because I came out of the closet and said, I have anxiety panic disorder, do you know that it's been 6 months and I still once a week want to shut my channel down because my skin is so thin that I can't take the digs and the poking at me that people do because they say to me this. Well, your channel is just really good, Kelly. I mean, because it's good therapy for you and for the other people that are listening. I'm like, huh, is that what you think we're doing here? Because I don't think that we're having a therapy session. We're having a conversation. We're
But can
like
you receive it as that? That
that.
therapy is talking to people
No,
that
but that's the point, though. That's what I'm saying, right? So when I sit here, sometimes I feel very fake and I feel very phony, and then I shame myself and I blame myself because I jumped into something without fully understanding what I was jumping into, right? And so I did that whole blame and shame thing. I am learning to set my boundaries up. I am learning to understand that I am just me. I own who I am. I want to be a voice for mental health awareness because it's very important to me that other people understand that I am still Kelly. Kelly's got a lot to offer. Every once in a while I go a little cray cray, but I still have a lot to offer, right? And I want people to know that it's okay, that you can say, I have a mental health disorder and still be who you are, still be treated with respect and dignity, right? It's
correct.
important to me.
And you're saying that if we're following this chain of conversation, that one that has to begin within,
Yes.
and then understanding
Yes.
um, that stigma. Like one of the things that is in the hospital, there was like all these rights. Like we have this type of infection that every one of the floors in the hospital got, but it was
Mhm.
related to one man because as
Mhm.
his care, he needed less and less care. He got moved to different floors. But what he did was he would refuse to take a bath or be
Right.
bathed.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you have a central line and we're trying to keep your skin safe, right? But
Hmm.
what did he say? I know my rights. Now,
Yeah.
why did he even have to do that? Because there were people who, Kelly, I'm going to get rid of you and I'm going to send you to the hospital. I'm going to have you admitted.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I say, she's cray.
Yeah.
Send her to the crazy house,
Yeah.
right? So you give me, so it's a stigma to use again to disempower someone,
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
right?
I
Because
had
I
a
don't know
work.
a person that doesn't have a mental health issue. Everyone has some kind of form of depression. I
Well,
mean, like,
it's just really coming to light now, in my opinion. So a couple of years ago, uh, 2014. So my mom died in 2012, and literally the day after my mom died, I found out my father was terminal. So everyone knows this story, but I promise I'm going somewhere with this in terms of what we're talking about, right? I was the person that everyone in my family came to if there was a problem because I didn't freak out. I was calm, cool, cucumber kind of person. I always knew exactly what to do and I didn't show any emotions. I was kind of like a little soldier, a little robot, if you will, right? And yeah, not then. No, no, not then. I was having 6 to 8 panic attacks a day, and I basically locked myself inside the house. Um, I was afraid to take a shower because I had a panic attack in the shower. I was afraid to drive my car. I used to work about 30 minutes car ride away, and it would take me sometimes 3 hours to drive home because I'd literally have to pull over because I thought I was going to be sick, or because my heart was racing, or because I would just start to cry because I was afraid. Um, it was really, really hard to accept that this was the new, improved version of myself, right? And not fully understanding because I wasn't diagnosed yet what the heck was actually happening to me. So I quit my job. Well, I'm not a mom. I don't have kids. My husband is, totally independent and completely self-sufficient, thank God. So, but there I was, my work was my purpose, right? And I quit my job. So it's like, okay, so what do I do now? I don't know what to do. I can't leave my house because I'm frozen in fear and I have nothing. So I would literally sit there for 4 or 5 days at a time and just do whatever. Anything that would distract me and take away from what was actually physically happening to me. And And so, moving on, in 2013, I got myself a job. I worked from 8:30 in the morning till 6:30 at night. And it was the best job in the whole wide world because I walked into a place, and this is very difficult to explain, but I walked into a place where I knew everybody that worked there, with the exception of about 10 people. I worked with all of those people previously for almost 15 years on the exact same computer system that I used for 15 years, doing the same job that I did for 15 years. It was like I was on vacation, really. I just walked in and sat down and went, okay. Like, it was very weird. But anyway, moving on. It wasn't the same company. So there I am, and I'm throwing myself into my work. And now my dad is dying. And any progress that I made just went right out the window. I couldn't do it. I couldn't cope. I could not handle it. And I went to the doctor, and I said to the doctor, I need some help. I need someone to talk to. I need some time. I can't do this. So he's like, what do you need? And I said, I need to reduce my work hours by 1 hour a day. So from 9.5 hours, I was reducing it to 8.5 hours. And I went into work, and I gave my boss, who knew me for 15 years, my doctor's note. And he said, where did you get this? And I said, from the doctor. He's like, why? And I'm like, because, as you know, I'm struggling. And you know what he said to me? I can't give it my blessing. And I'm like, what does that mean? And so, blame and shame, right? In that moment, I was blamed and shamed for my diagnoses and for being honest. And this immense sense of paranoia then set in, where I thought that everyone was like pointing fingers and looking at me and, giving me the stink eye and the side eye. And luckily, I had never experienced that before that way, to that extent in my life. And it did an awful lot of damage to me, to the point where I retreated to my house. And part of the reason where I was going with all of this is to share that story, because it wasn't anyone that I knew, even though it was someone that I knew, but it was my work, right? It was the one place where I felt like I was who I used to be. And I was holding on for dear life, and poof, it was gone, because someone couldn't be bothered to try to understand, in my opinion, right? And I will tell you that to this day, that person refuses to speak to me.
Well, Kelly, so I want to ask you to let me have the last 10 minutes of this show.
Oh, no, absolutely. I just want to finish by saying,
well, no, so let me tell you why, because I think one of the things is that, yes, there's depression, there is, but I want to offer some tools that people can use.
Oh, no, I got a whole bunch too. The whole reason why I went there was this, right? I know that in Canada, we have really good mental health compared to other places, but it's not the best. And so I want to encourage anyone that falls into a similar situation like that, in terms of what we're talking about here tonight. First of all, seek medical attention. Go to your doctor and ask your doctor for assistance, whether that be a therapist, a psychiatrist, whatever the case may be. They are the best people to advise you on how you navigate that situation, right? Because you should not feel shamed or blamed if you cannot function at your normal level, right? If you come down with something, if you've lost a parent or whatever the case may be, you should not be put in a position where I have to go to work even though I know that I'm struggling, right? You should not be put in a position like that. But if you are put in a position like that, you go to your medical professional and hopefully they can assist you with, therapy or medication or both or whatever the case may be. And the second reason why I brought that up is this. At that particular point, I was blaming myself. It was all Kelly, you're horrible, you're bad, you suck, whatever. I have now come to the conclusion that that is something that happened to me through no fault of my own. And once I realized that, I was allowed to sort of open the gate and let the blame go. And so I got, I believe it was 7 different tips as to things that you can do. This is minor for yourself, like what you can do for your personal self to assist you to be able to cope with the feelings of blame and or shame, whether they are coming from yourself or from other people. But this is work that you can do on yourself to help you navigate that, if that makes sense.
Well, so let me interrupt you, Kelly,
Go for
if
it.
you don't mind. So one of the things is that I would say that part of this is about understanding the importance of.
Oh, Minnassa froze.
But one of the things is that we've all been taught to
Sorry, you froze for a bit there.
I think so. It looks like I'm back. So that we all weren't taught. Hey, Ron, we all weren't taught the importance of taking care of ourselves. So one of the things that I'm very grateful for is that my mother, every year I had a physical, every year I had an eye exam, and every year I went to the dentist. That simple routine of self-care, and that simple thing that you don't have to go to your doctor if you have regular visits with them. Now, of course, in Canada, I'm going to become a Canadian citizen because I want to have socialized medicine. Where here in the US, you have to have a job. But all those things that part of shame and blame and how it continues to live is because we still operate in that I don't matter. I'm not valuable. My thoughts aren't important. And so a daily spiritual practice and a way of self-care is the beginning, in my opinion, out of that hole and into the light. That this is, and it's a commitment to yourself, that just as committed as people are to their story and as committed as they are to their blame and shame, that you can turn that around and be committed to yourself. And it to me, begins with some very simple things, that it's so easy to be caught in the dark. So start, what are you thankful for? What are you grateful for? One day I was here in the house and I had to unload the dishwasher. And I was grumbling like my life was being sapped away by some vampire, because I'm like, my daughter's sitting on her ass and here all day, and I don't know what Gail's doing. And I thought, you know what, Minnassa, check yourself, right? You're emptying the dishwasher. There are people who don't have a dishwasher. And if I took a quarter turn to everything in that house, a quarter turn was the refrigerator, quarter turn's my beautiful backyard, quarter turn is the TV, and I thought, get out of it. Quit blaming and being like, oh, my life, that much of our challenges, I call them first world problems.
Yeah.
That it's a problem in this world, that there are people who wish they were suffering from the things that we were suffering from. So to really bring about a practice of gratitude, and that's really about shifting your mind. What you look at, you change what you see changes. And then I'm sure probably on the list you
That's a
have is
really,
to
really good point.
incorporate some affirmations. And people get all freaked out about affirmations. Like, what should I write? Okay, just say what you want. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. I'm loving. I'm lovable. Don't worry about the form, and then to really spend that time with yourself, to meditate. And then my last thing is to really exercise some healthy boundaries. That is the beginning of releasing, in my opinion, shame and blame. That take back your power. When I very first came to a sort of a new age type of understanding, I read a book by Abraham Hicks called I don't know, ask and it shall be given to you. And in the first part of the book, they talk about if your life's messed up, it's your fault. And I was like, for entertainment purposes only, fuck that. Like, my life got messed up because of me.
Yeah.
My life messed up because, and I had a whole list, right? Blame.
Yep.
And then the shame.
Yes.
But really, just in the chance of getting quiet, I really felt like, yes, I'm going to own that my life is messed up and that I caused it, because now I can fix it.
Yeah.
If the cause of it's outside of me, I can never change it. But if I own the mess, I can clean it.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anna Banana says, when I get to feeling like I am suffering, I remember growing up with my grandparents and doing old school outhouse usage and hand washing clothes makes me realize how lucky I am.
I mean, this might not be applicable to everyone, and excuse me because we do have Ron, but do you remember when I started my period, they had actual pads that you could just tape into your underwear versus that horrible belt that you used to have to wear? Now my daughter has underwear that you just have your period in. I mean,
Yeah.
So all those complaints, there's out at the outhouse,
Yeah.
So much.
My grandma had an indoor outhouse, which was a hoot, by the way. I didn't know what it was.
She had a what?
An indoor outhouse. My grandmother lived in an old converted schoolhouse, and literally the bathroom was an outhouse, like, plywood with a hole.
Correct.
But it was inside the house in a washroom, and little privileged white girl goes to grandma's, like I'm going like to this like really rough part of town or something, and I go to this schoolhouse. Well, I mean, there was like 10 kids and 2 rooms, that whole kind of thing, and it was a lot for me. I mean, I was 4 in my defense, but anyhow, so I go to grandma's house, and I was the first granddaughter and the first grandchild, so like I could literally do no wrong. And my favorite thing to do is to throw things down that hole, and listen to them splash and so forth. Apparently, I don't actually remember doing this, but that's what I was told. So, and then my uncle would have to go and fish it all out. But yeah, that was my favorite thing to do. You said positive affirmation, and it reminded me of this. So this is a little mini card deck that I have, and I love this so much. This is Foxglove, and it says confidence, be what you want to see. And as soon as I read that, I was like, I love that. And so
it's true. I have a similar affirmation I learned years ago, that if it is to be, it's up to me.
I love that. That's excellent. And so I wrote that down and I stuck it on my positivity board, which is just my name for my bulletin board, which everyone knows my cat ate all my positive affirmations off. So now he is really positive, apparently. I don't know. So this is what I've got. So what can we do instead of, directing the blame and shame towards us, right? Here we go. So lovingly disengage. So you're having a conversation with someone, right? They're coming at you in a way that makes you feel like you need to, whoa, now hold on a minute. You can literally say to them out loud or to yourself, I'm not available to be blamed or shamed. I'm going to walk away and I'm going to come back in 15 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever the case may be, and we can try and talk about it then, right? Be kind and compassionate towards yourself, like Minnassa was saying, right? Tune into your heart, to how sad you feel when you are shamed and when you are blamed. You tune into the loneliness and the heartache that you feel and the helplessness that you feel over the situation, or if it was another person, what you felt in that moment. Put your hands on your heart and say, I bring kindness, I bring love, and I bring gentleness to myself.
You got to feel it to heal it. So
right.
Part of, especially being in New Age or light work, is like, oh, everything's fine. It's like, okay, that's some BS. That, that for the most part, things are good. But as you're healing, so sometimes you just got to feel it and say, this was crap and it made me feel like crap, but I'm not going to stay in the crap.
That's right.
So I see it. I honor it. I'm not going to try to be like, oh, well, it was horrible.
Yeah.
And then from that place, be able to step into your power.
Absolutely. If your feelings are hurt, tune into what you're telling yourself. And this is key for Kelly. If your feelings are hurt, tune into what you're telling yourself that may be causing you to feel unworthy, bad, wrong, or unlovable. Because it's usually something that has happened to you, something that you are telling yourself, I'm fat, I'm ugly, whatever, you know what I mean? It's that kind of stuff that's creeping up and saying to you, you're not good enough, which is why you react the way that you do when someone is saying something to you, right?
I think you hit it on the head.
That's a fascinating concept to me.
It is, because it reminds me of what you said about taking that time to count to 10, or take that time to say, okay, is this really true or not?
Yeah.
And then if it is, well, how can I fix it? And then if it's not, goodbye. But they're really, self-awareness, what are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself?
Yeah.
Listen to your talk, your self-talk. I did my video yesterday for Gemini, and that air sign, thinking and communicating, run by Mercury. And I can't think of the show again. Oh, but there was this man on the show who was always saying the most, and finally a guy in the show said, you need to tape yourself and listen to what you say all day.
Yeah.
That again, we get so unaware, just talking out the side of our neck, or just blurting stuff out. And again, who taught you that? Someone said, I need to get a better job. Compared to what? Who told you that you're a failure? Well, I should have done this, or who? Who do you know that even does that?
Yeah. Who put that idea in your head? One of the best things that I have ever done for myself in terms of healing is mirror work. And I did a sample, a brief sample, and put it on the channel. It's difficult to film yourself doing mirror work, but I did it. I talk to the mirror, not in a traditional mirror work kind of way, but I talk to the mirror as if it's my reflection of, but I'm talking to my best friend. Right? And that's how I come to have better self-awareness. Anyways, moving on. So to explore whether the old feelings are from being blamed and shamed in childhood, and that you're getting triggered by them, right? To the point that I was making before. Because the more compassionate you are towards that old pain, the more that the old pain can actually release and leave.
And I think also, even if you were blamed and shamed in your childhood, is that, like my sister and I, you would, if you talk to us, you would think we grew up in 2 different houses with 2 different families. We have a completely different view.
Yes.
Yeah, stuff happened, but you know what? My mom did the best she could at that time.
Yeah.
So I accept that. And then, so when she tries to, tell me, it goes in one ear out the other, because I understand that's like, my daughter's going to be going to Africa, and my mom was so upset, and she told her, I'm not going to tell her until all the stuff is done, because you don't want that energy coming. but that you said you can disengage, and sometimes your relatives, you got to love them from a distance. Just because you share the same DNA and the same blood doesn't mean they have access to your life. So part of that challenge is I'm not friends with maybe 2 or 3 of my relatives. You're not
Right.
going to get, you're not allowed into my sacred space.
Right.
And you can have your opinions.
Yeah.
Good for you. You know, and
Yeah.
someone said about 50. All right, we're talking about, I had Sherry and Ali on the show. That, yeah, there is a wisdom that can come as you get older,
Truth.
and to be like, and even
Yeah.
at work, people, it's like, if you pay my bills, we can have a conversation about your opinion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that
Absolutely.
just because you're related to someone, just because they've been, like you said, they've been your neighbor for a long time,
Yeah.
you are a holder
Yeah.
of that which is sacred, the light of the divine. And that sacred space, not only who you allow has access to that,
Yes.
and to honor that in all that you do.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, I think that,
Yeah, relatives you only see at funerals. That's right.
yeah,
Because the other one's like,
right.
what if?
I know. When I was getting married to Mark, my mother said to me, "Well, you have to invite this person," and I'm like, "Why?
Exactly. Like,
I don't. I mean, they don't like me. I don't like them. Why are we like? For what purpose am I doing this? Well, because it would make Nana happy. Says who? And so I backed down and I invited them, and then they didn't come, and then there was a whole thing about apparently they sent me a gift but they never did, and it was just like, it's so ridiculous, right? It just, that kind of stuff, for whatever reason, I've never, like, I take it in, but I don't let that bother me. It's usually when I usually feel blame and shame when it comes to, I think it was Joan that said about her job, my success. I had great issue with that, like my purpose, and not feeling like I was ever quite catching on. I always felt like I was just one step behind everybody else, and I don't know where that comes from, because that certainly wasn't how I grew up. Meaning coming from my parents or whatever. Um, so as Minnassa had said, referring to like the self-awareness, right? So open to your higher self for any information about really what's going on with yourself, in terms of meditation, self-love, mirror work. Oracle cards can help, positive affirmations can help, shadow work can help, you know all of those types of things, doing those deep dives into our personas and our personalities and trying to figure out what makes us tick, what
that's true. Or
makes us.
even simple things like those. That is an amazing list of things.
Yeah.
But as women, again, how
Yeah.
many women feel guilty when you have chocolate? Say, oh, well, I should only have one piece, or I shouldn't have eaten 2 or 3 of those. Who said? Again, that we don't even realize the blame and the shame around how we eat.
Yeah.
That when you die, you're not going to be like, damn it, I shouldn't have had 2 pieces of chocolate. Right? You're going to be like, I shouldn't have listened to those people, right? Or I should have lived my best life. Or I have these friends. I was talking at my church one time. I said, stop buying stuff on a discount. Buy
Right.
stuff for yourself at full price. Right? Well, oh my God, my friends Judy and Carolyn, because I also said I don't like liver and
Right.
onions, and they love liver and onions, and they trying to convert me to
Oh,
that. And I'm like, no. But sometimes we just gotta be good to ourselves. Well, you gotta be frugal.
yes.
Okay, all the time. When you die, either your kids or your dogs or cats gonna get that money.
Yeah.
So I'm saying you can, that again, that even
It's
that kind of
yes.
mindset, well, you better not eat too much, or
Yes. Yeah, it's like don't eat before you go swimming, right? Like you get these weird things that either you found out from your community or whatever, and they stick with you because, you know, it wasn't a problem. Then all of a sudden one day it becomes a problem because you're changing, you're growing, you're constantly evolving. And those things they don't keep up with time.
Eat a piece of chocolate every day and eat dessert before dinner. I mean, do those sorts of things that break
Absolutely.
up, that make you have to, you know.
Which is really funny. It's like Minnassa is reading my notes, which is kind of weird. Because literally the next thing says, take a moment and do something kind for yourself. So everybody go get a piece of chocolate.
Indeed. Indeed. Or like when they have in the store here, they have this lemon meringue cake. So I've been doing lower carb eating, not low carb. So, you know, but I keep track. But you know, there's some days I'm like, F this.
That's
I'm
right.
going to eat this.
You know what?
So I got my little lemon meringue cake. Do you like lemon
If
meringue?
you want to have a piece of lemon meringue cake, you know, you don't have to eat half of it. You just go have a little sliver and that should satisfy. You know what I mean?
No, girl, I want to eat the whole thing.
Oh, no. Tell me. Okay, can I share a story? Okay, so my husband has diverticulitis, which is, you know, a thing with stomach, whatever.
Yeah. In your intestines, right?
Yes. No popcorn, no corn. It's a no-no in our house. Not allowed. He does the grocery shopping. I don't leave the house. Everyone knows that. He went to the grocery store. He bought popcorn that you make in the microwave. I looked in the cupboard and I thought it was the cream of wheat box. Then I was like, ooh, we got ourselves some Orville Redenbacher. Look at that. I love me some popcorn, but popcorn and I don't get along either, but that's because I don't eat it because he doesn't have it, right? I mean, it's been like 10 years. So anyways, get myself the bag, pop it in the, ooh, it was so good. There's like 2 bags of popcorn left in the box. Kelly's eaten like 3 out of the 6, right? Mark has one. Now I go back and I have another one. And that last one is like, it's like I can hear it from here. It's Kelly from the kitchen, right? And I'm like, oh, my stomach's upset. And now I feel like just a little, because the popcorn did it to me and I know it did. But I went right to the kitchen, stuck that thing in the microwave, just turned it on, just was like, oh, this is going to be so good. I ate it and it was like halfway through. I was like, this is gross. I don't know why I'm eating it. I'm going to suffer. But that's because, you know, when you deprive yourself of something or you feel like you're depriving yourself of something, you do this like Jedi mind trick on your brain. And it's like, honestly. So I literally convinced myself as I stood in front of the microwave, telling myself I should not eat the popcorn as it's spinning around in circles, going right, and the cats are freaking out. I literally convinced myself that, well, if I eat this last bag, then there won't be any more popcorn. So that's how I justified it. Right?
Yeah, but look at, we have to just be better to ourselves. And I think for people in this community, you know, I want to, yes, I'm 100% have a daily spiritual practice. Get your gratitude, meditate. You got to do that shadow work. You got to look at the pain.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like I have a memory. I was in therapy and I have a memory of a horrible fight that happened in my family. My uncle, who I love very much, was being an asshole that day, and he hit my cousin. Now, so I'm a little kid. I was like 3 or 4, and all my adults. So I can tell you what happened, but I can't hear what happened. So when I told my therapist, I said, I don't know why nobody was talking. And she said, well, are you at a place where you can say something to your mom? So I said, Mom, how come nobody was helping Judy? And I went through this whole thing. She goes, what do you mean? We were all yelling and screaming. So my little 2 or 3 or 4-year-old mind blocked that out. So now at 58, I'm saying I'm okay, but I pushed it so way back that that's not going to come forward. But I can still say that was a horrible memory. And as much as I love my uncle, he was a jerk that day.
Yeah.
And to just let the pain come up of seeing my family in such an ugly way and then saying, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you gotta, I think, Sherry was talking about dealing with that pain. You gotta, that mirror work, that shadow work, that sometimes you just, even someone like me can be a straight asshole and love it while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then pay the price afterwards.
Yeah. I think that's this might sound weird, but that what I was just going to say, and that's why I stopped myself. I was going to say that's a good point, like as if I was agreeing with you that you are I didn't mean that. What I mean is, I sometimes think, and coming from a person who is just new to spirituality and new to the journey, new to the whole concept of healing myself via this world of spirituality, I think that sometimes people get confused with the messages that they sometimes hear. And I don't mean messages from spirit. I mean messages that we hear in the communities, wherever that, whether it's here on YouTube or you go to other places outside of that. You don't have to, it's not like you literally drive your car into a garage and get out, close the door, lock the car, and never see the car again. You know what I mean? You're going to go back and forth to the garage. You're going to open up the door. You're going to get in the car. You're going to drive it. You know what I mean? Like you're constantly learning and constantly evolving and constantly moving forward, right? Yes. You're not stuck where you can't. I mean, it's not logical to think that from this point forward, I'm never going to say damn. I mean, I'd last literally 8 seconds. Do you know what I mean? We're human beings. And because, I mean, think about this. How many years did it take you, Minnassa, to get to the point that you just said that you have arrived at where now you can say, you know what? No, I'm not, whatever. I'm not doing that. How many years did it take you to get there? Well, it took you that many years to get there. It's not going to be fixed like a light switch. It's not going to work.
Very true. Very true.
You have to be patient with yourself and you have to be kind to yourself, because I'm telling you, friends, if there is one thing that I'm sure that everyone here can agree on, working on yourself is not easy. It is so challenging because you're literally peeling layers of like an onion back and trying to go back to when you were 2, 3, 4, those kind of memories, to release pains, to understand the damage that they may have done, to relearn a lesson that you thought that you already knew, when you come to realize I didn't really understand that lesson, obviously, or this wouldn't keep happening to me, right? It's a lot of work, and the work can be so heavy sometimes. And so you've got to let yourself breathe, is what I refer to it as, right? You've got to let your hair down, think like the king, not the king of wands, the knight of wands in the tarot deck, right? In Lightseer deck specifically, it's a woman with long hair and she's just beating her drum and letting her hair. And that's how I feel. You've just got to live, right? And sort of inject that enthusiasm and that motivation to want to be your very best self. That's the best way that I can put it. Whoop, and Minnassa's gone. I don't know if she lost her internet or not. Oh, there she is. She's back.
Yes,
I was like,
we're having storms here, and so I knew to have my iPad. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, we're having storms here, and so.
Well, I hope that you're going to be okay. I hope that the storms are, that they subside quickly for you guys.
We're at the end of Tornado Alley.
Oh, okay. That doesn't sound like much fun at all. Yikes.
Well, we get the least part of the worst, I'll say. But yes, so I knew to have my iPad, so I was ready.
Excellent. So just to finish up, I just, these kinds of conversations, literally we could talk about this every week from now until 2023, right? I hope that between Minnassa and I, we gave you guys a little bit of information as to different ways that you can help yourself if you're dealing with issues of blame and shame. Like anything that we talk about here, it's a lot. It's not easy. Sometimes it gets really heavy, but know that you're not alone. There's lots of resources within the community and lots of resources available to you, whether that be through a doctor or the internet or whatever the case may be. And as always, if anyone feels the need to want to continue a conversation, all you need to do is leave a comment under the video or send me an email, and we will try to do that. Minnassa, my friend, thank you so much for coming and for joining. Do you have anything that's coming up for you that you want to share?
Well, no. Well, so I'm going to be on a show on Friday night with a lady named C. Megan Michael. Now, she's not a part of the Tarot Love community, but her and Aiden reads tarot, did a live together. So I'll post, just like the beautiful image that you made, I post that to let people know. And thank you I know that I recognize in you that hardness that you have on yourself. But I want to thank you for working through that, for stepping beyond that, because the light that you bring to this community of honest talk, of open and safe and sacred space is a transformative place. And so thank you. Thank you. When you hear that voice saying like, nah, girl, hear my voice saying, yeah, girl, keep doing it. And then when you keep doing it, then if there's a day you don't feel like it and you say, I'm tired today, honor that. But you are making a difference.
I have been lately. I really, really have been lately. I thank you very much for saying that. And I have been trying to honor that. So,
and
I'm not, you know what? You guys are stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. Sorry.
People telling the truth about their pains and, we got to talk about it, but not stay there.
Oh, well, Exactly. So, Minnassa, her channel is listed in the description box under the video. For anybody that wants to go check out Minnassa's channel, I highly recommend it. She is a fantastic person, as you can tell, and she has lots of guidance and information, and she is the diva of divination. So do go check her out and show her some love. Of course, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating, everybody. I will be back on, where will I be? Friday. I will be.
Thanks, Spirit, it's Friday.
Yes, thanks, Spirit, it's Friday. Thank you. 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Aiden will be here with me.
Oh my goodness.
I had to think about that for a minute. And then on Sunday, I have Terry Suzuki from Kipper Tarot, the Kipper Spiritual Journey, and then Wisdom Seeker Joan joining me on Sunday for Sunday Connections at 3 p.m. Eastern. So, thank you everyone for being here. The Sweet Dreams reading has just dropped, and it is a visualization tonight. There is not a reading. So I hope that you guys liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. Because friends, as Minnassa was saying earlier about being a boomer, my goodness, it took me forever to figure out how to get it to the point where you all could do it. But you're here. I hope that you enjoy it. And I want to say to everybody in the chat to, hold the families in Texas in your hearts. Because they need it. They definitely need it.
For those of you to hold this country, we have an opportunity to really make a change. So hold the hope and hold that energy for change to happen. Yes, those families should have never gone through that. But the U.S. has lagged and dragged their feet. May these young children, these are elementary age kids, may their lives not have been lost in vain. In this country, we can step up. We can do that. So hold that space. In the midst of anger, hold the space for this country to shift.
It's going to. And so it is, right?
And so it is.
All right, my friend, we will leave it here. Thank you, everyone, for being here. And Minnassa, thank you, my friend. Don't go anywhere. Good night, everybody. Many blessings. Mwah. We'll see you soon. Bye.